जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 5, Text number 3. Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishvaram न भजन्ति अवजानन्ति स्थानाद् भ्रष्ट पतन्त्यद। य एषां पुरुषं साक्षात् आत्मप्रभवम् ईश्वरं न भजन्ति अवजानन्ति स्थानाद् भ्रष्टा प्रतन्त्यध। Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanat bhrashta patantyada. Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanat bhrashta patantyada. Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanat bhrashta patantyada. Ya esham purusham sakshat atma prabhavam ishvaram na bhajanti avajananti sthanat bhrashta patantyada. Word to word translation. Yaha, one who, esham, of them, purusham, the Supreme Lord, sakshat, directly, atma prabhavam, the source of their own creation, Ishwaram, the Supreme Controller, na, do not, bhajanti, worship, avajananti, disrespect, sthanat, from their position, bhrashtaha, fallen, patanti, they fall, adaha, down. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. If any of the members of the four Varnas and four Ashramas fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the personality of Godhead, who is the source of their own creation, they will fall down from their position into the hellish state of life. Purport. The words na bhajanti in this verse refer to those who out of ignorance do not worship the Supreme Lord, whereas the word avajananti refers to those who have actually been informed of the supreme position of the Lord but still show Him disrespect. It has already been described that the four spiritual and occupational orders of life are generated from the body of the Lord. In fact, the Supreme Lord is the source of everything, as described in Bhagavad Gita 10.8, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. Those who foolishly do not inquire into the position of the personality of Godhead, as well as those who disrespect the Lord in spite of having heard of His transcendental position, will certainly fall down from the Varnashram Dharma system, as described by the words Sthanat Bhrashtaha. The word Patanti Adaha indicate that one who falls from the Varnashram system will have no means of avoiding sinful activities, nor will such a person receive any credit for performing sacrifices, and thus he will gradually sink down into lower and lower species of life in hellish conditions. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that the original cause of offending the Lord and falling down from one's position is one's not learning how to properly worship a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to offer respectful obeisances and worship to the bona fide spiritual master automatically offers proper worship to the Supreme Lord. Without the mercy of the bona fide spiritual master, even a so-called religious man will gradually become atheistic, offend the Lord by foolish speculations, and fall into the hellish condition of life. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that the Purusha mentioned in this verse is Lord Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, is glorified in the Purusha Shukta prayers. If one is proud of his high social position and enviously thinks that the Lord is also creation of nature and that there is no absolute entity who is the origin of all beings, then such a puffed up fool will certainly fall down from the Varnashram system and become just like an unregulated animal. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we'll read the translation again. If any of the members of the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas fail to worship or intentionally disrespect the personality of Godhead, who is a source of their own creation, they will fall down from their position into the hellish state of life. So, in this we are discussing on this chapter where Narad Muni is concluding his teachings to father of Lord Krishna, Vasudeva. And in this, the description which we are hearing is the discussion between Nimi Maharaj and the Nava-Yogendras. Nimi Maharaj was asking 9 questions to Nava-Yogendras, each question to each Yogendra. So now he is asking the 8th question. Till now we have discussed 7 different questions asked by Nimi Maharaj. So this is the 8th question. And the 8th question is, what happened to those people who don't worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because in the previous question, the importance of worshipping the different incarnation of the Lord and his pastimes, hearing his different pastime is mentioned. So after hearing those things, a question arises in his mind that certainly devotees will worship, but what about those who don't worship Krishna, who don't worship, even after hearing so many wonderful pastimes of the Lord, they don't worship Krishna. So what will happen to them? What is their destiny? That was the question of Nimi Maharaj. And in that context, here the Chamasa Rishi is explaining what will happen to them. So the Chamasa Rishi, understanding the question, didn't reply directly, but he started with answering about Varnashram. Now the question was, what happened to the non-devotees? But Chamasa started with a description of the Varnashram system. Now why Varnashram system it was described? The reason is that in this world there are different types of people. There are 2 kinds of people, not many, but there are 2 kinds basically. One is atheist and second is theist. So of course those who are atheist, and they will not worship God. But those who are even theist, they also sometimes don't worship God. So now here, what will happen to those atheists, that will be described later. But what will happen to those theists, even after understanding, they don't worship God. So the Varnashram system are for those people who are being provided with a chance to worship Supreme Personality of Godhead. Varnashram system is there. They do accept certain, there is somebody higher in situation, there is something called God. But point is that even though they accept there is somebody higher, but still they don't worship properly. They worship according to their own likes. Just like we see people in this world worship God because of 4 reasons: Artha, Arthati, Jigyasu and Jnani. But almost 98% of the people in this world are in the category of Artha and Artharthi. They worship God because they want certain benefits. They worship God because they want to get relieved from their miserable situation. So in that way, worshiping the Supreme Lord becomes so difficult that people take God as a mere relief person. I want God to relieve me from my situation. So they don't want God to worship it. They want God to worship because He will relieve us from our miserable situation. So Varnashram system helps regulate such kind of people. Of course, the 4 Vedas describes about the are being provided for this kind of people who are supposed to advance slowly in spiritual life. So the 4 Purusharthas of the Vedas are specifically meant for the followers of the Varnashram system. But there is something called as Pancham Purushartha, that is Bhakti. That Bhakti or the Prema is not attained by following Varnashram system. Varnashram system will help graduate them from lower status of life to the level of Sattva Guna. But from the Sattva Guna, they have to rise again to Shuddha Sattva to attain the highest goal of life, that is Prema, by practicing Bhakti Yoga. And that is only possible through the following process of Bhagavata Dharma. So there is 2 Dharma it is mentioned. One is Varnashram Dharma and other is Bhagavad Dharma. So Varnashram Dharma is kind of you can say a bridge between a atheistic class of people and the pure devotion service. Those people who don't want to worship God, or those who want to enjoy in this material world, and those who are into fully, without motive, practicing the pure devotion service. So these are the very 2 opposite ends. So Varnashram system helps us to bridge that gap. Varnashram system allows a person to enjoy in a regulated way and slowly advance to the higher destination of life. So that is what is mentioned. So after describing the different 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, Chamasa Rishi now trying to explain that even in the 4 Varnas and Ashramas, there are people who will not worship God. Now who are they? So here it is mentioned, there are 2 types of people who neglect the Lord. First, na bhajanti and avajananti. So Chamasa Rishi says in this verse that 2 classes of people are na bhajanti, means out of ignorance, they don't worship God. That means they don't know that I have to worship the Supreme Person of God, and that Supreme Person of God is Krishna. They don't know that. And that's why they don't worship Krishna. Whereas the other class is avajananti, means they have the knowledge, but still they don't worship the God. Out of these 2, the second class, avajananti, their offense is more serious, because in first case, they don't know whom to worship. But in the second case, even after knowing whom to worship, still they don't worship the Supreme Lord. So such kind of avajananti are in a very precarious situation. Now in the next verse, Chamasa Rishi favors the first category, na bhajanti. That means those who are out of ignorance, don't worship the Lord. Chamasa Rishi says in the next verse, which we'll hear in the next class, that such kind of people are lower class of people. They are ignorant women and Shudras and other low class of the people. They don't know, they are ignorant. So Chamasa Rishi says to Maharaj Nimi, you should show special mercy upon them, because Because of their situation, they don't know whom to worship. So rather than discrediting them or rather than neglecting them, you should show mercy upon them. So Chamasa Rishi instruct Nimi Maharaj to show favors, to show mercy to such ignorant people. Whereas in further verses, he was very heavy on those who are avajananti category. That means they who knows but still don't worship the Supreme Lord. Now, who are those people who don't worship the Supreme Lord? For example, we know that many people read Shastras, many people read, they understand that Krishna is the Supreme Person of Godhead. It is mentioned everywhere in the Bhagavad Gita, but they will still say, as Prabhupada says, Maya apratat jnana, means the knowledge has been stolen by Maya. They will say, oh, you should not worship Krishna, but it is the person that is within Krishna. You have to worship that. Or Krishna is just a figurative speech. Factually speaking, it is Krishna is us only. We, God and myself are same. Only thing is that we don't realize that we are God yet. So such kind of people are called avajananti here. So these people know Krishna's position but ignore or belittle them. So such kind of avajanantis, it is said that such people are in more serious situation. Why they are into serious situation? Because it indicates envy towards the Lord. As soon as we compare ourselves with the Supreme Person of Godhead, we equate ourselves with the Supreme Person of Godhead, or sometimes we belittle Krishna by saying that, oh, Krishna is one among thousands of demigods we have in. So such kind of understanding is a sign of an envy. Now, why this is called envy? Because sometimes we see, sometimes it happens in envious, when somebody is envious of other. Let's say if somebody is doing wonderful preaching activity, somebody is doing wonderful advancement in the spiritual life, or wonderful services in devotional service. The other person who is envious may say, oh, even I can do that. Not a problem. Only thing is that I have not put my efforts. That's why he is successful. But when I will put effort, it will happen surely. So that kind of belittling such endeavor is kind of a sign of an envy. So again, in Prabhupada Lilamrita, there is a wonderful statement by Satswarup Maharaj has written that when Prabhupada's success was informed in India to their god brothers, one of the god brothers said, oh, he was just a businessman. He is anyway doing a business there. He is expert in doing business. So that is a sign of an envy. Envy appears when one starts to belittle other person. So this happens, this starts with a devotee and slowly it goes to the guru, and then from guru it goes to the Supreme Person of Godhead. Now how it approaches towards guru also? Again, sometimes a devotee thinks himself to be such a great preacher that when he sits in guru's class, he says, and let's say if some audience, one person from the audience asks certain question to a guru, and guru try to answer the question, but this person says, oh, guru must have answered it in this way. It would have properly understood. So he tries to correct, tries to minimize the efforts of the spiritual master. Even that is also considered to be an envy situation. One starts to think that I am superior. It reflects a puffed up ego arising from the false prestige. So, avajananti here, such kind of persons, avajananti category, they do, you may see that they are worshipping God, but factually speaking, because of their puffed up ego and envy, they do activities of worship, but they are they are worshipping their own ego in one sense. So such kind of people, even though been seen worshipping Krishna, they are not worshipping Krishna. They are actually worshipping their own false prestige. So here, Chamasa Rishi, while explaining to Maharaj Nimi, he says that the non-devotees are not only the atheists, but even in the spiritual circles, these two categories, one is na bhajanti and other is avajananti. Such two categories are people who don't worship God. And such people's situation, what happens? He says, sthanat bhrashtaha. Sthanat bhrashta means they fall from their position. Now, what does this falling from position means? What happens? Sthanat bhrashta means what happened to those, especially avajananti. So first is, what is the first one? First one is na bhajanti. That means those who are ignorant. Certainly they will also fall from their position if they don't worship the Supreme Lord. But Nimi Maharaj was instructed to show mercy, special mercy to them, considering them to be ignorant and help them. So their falling from the situation will be protected. But those who are in the category of avajananti, even after knowing that they are being disrespectful towards Krishna, such kind of people are into precarious situation, and such people fall from their position. And what does this falling from the position means? It means losing the spiritual strength that supports moral discipline, sense control, duty, and character. So sometimes when we see a person fall from his position, we sometimes say, oh, this person was coming to temple for such a long time. He was such practicing bhaktis for so many years nicely. But somehow or other we stop seeing him in the temple anymore. We stop seeing him practicing bhakti anymore. What happened? How the fall came? The fall came because of avajananti. Envy, puffed up ego, false prestige, that leads to losing spiritual strength. Now, when a person loses spiritual strength, what happens? He loses moral discipline. Now, what is this moral discipline? A basic etiquette between devotees. He start fighting, he start cribbing, he start doing prajalpa, he start criticizing other devotees. That is losing spiritual. That happens because there is no spiritual strength. So one has to be very careful. The symptoms that somebody is falling from the position, it doesn't happen so quick. It happens slowly and gradually. And the symptoms are being explained here. The symptoms are, first, there is lack of moral discipline. Now, again, what is moral discipline here? Here, every ashrama have their own discipline. A brahmachari, a grahastha, a vanaprastha and sannyasi, everybody have their own discipline. But when the fall happens, a person doesn't follow the discipline. So because of that, because of transgressing the discipline, moral etiquettes, he start falling. The second thing is the sense control will be lost. The spiritual strength, the lack of spiritual strength is exhibited in terms of sense control. We will see such persons are becoming very much attracted towards the things other than Mahaprasad or Prasad. We will find that person indulging himself into many things, even not considering that it is offered to the Lord or not. He becomes so addicted to sense enjoyment that he will stop following even the basic regulation of offering things to Krishna. I just spoke about the tongue as a sense, but there are other senses also, and he will stop practicing that again. Then duty. Falling from position means losing the spiritual strength that supports duty. Now there are certain duties for each varna and each ashramas. We will find such persons are not following their duties properly. And it is seen. Now what is the duty of, let's say, a brahmachari? Or especially, not only brahmachari, but anybody who stays in the ashram life. Especially ashram life in terms of after taking initiation from the spiritual master. It is said, brahmachari gurukule vasantantam gururhitam. A brahmachari is supposed to stay in the ashram not for his own personal enjoyment, but for gururhitam, that is for the benefit of the guru. And how should he stay in the ashram? Vasandantam. Vasan means stay, dantam means control. Now control what? Control sense desire. Sense desire, mental agitation, he needs to control that. If he doesn't control that desires, and if he doesn't live in the ashram for the benefit of spiritual master, rather than he stays for his own benefit, then again he is falling down from his responsibility of a proper brahmachari or proper ashram residents again. So one has to be very careful of following a dutiful behavior. But again, avajananti category doesn't follow any of the duty. Something called as Guru Bhogi and Guru Tyagi. You must have heard these two terms. What is the meaning of Guru Tyagi? Guru Tyagi means to give up the Guru. When a disciple thinks, oh, my Guru is no longer strong, my Guru is no longer a famous personality, my Guru is no longer popular in this world, let me give that person and accept somebody else. Or sometimes, what is Guru Bhogi? Guru Bhogi means a disciple wants to enjoy the benefit of being a disciple of certain Guru. That is also called as Guru Bhogi. Means he wants to enjoy to be called as a disciple of certain very popular Guru. So he doesn't follow any rules and regulation, but want to take all the benefits of being a disciple of a famous Guru. So such kind of personalities are not following their character properly, following their duty properly. So they will also fall down from the situation. And the fourth understanding of falling from position is lack of character. Every ashrama has their own character. Every varna has their own character. A person loses his character by not following, worshipping Krishna. So somebody who doesn't worship Krishna properly, it is said, the heart of the varnashram is worship of Krishna. As long as one worship Krishna and follow the rules of varnashram system, he will naturally advance to the spiritual platform. But even if somebody follow varnashram system but doesn't accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, even though he may practice varnashram for millions of lifetimes, he will still fall down. So varnashram system minus Krishna is inevitable fall down. But varnashram system plus Krishna is elevation to the spiritual platform. So that one has to understand. So because of this, the purport says, when somebody doesn't follow varnashram rules and regulation, the varnashram naturally protects a person. Now, varnashram, how it protects a person? Those who follow the rules of varnashram dharma, that varnashram dharma itself protect that person. We have heard the word dharma rakshatiti rakshitaha. One who follows dharma, the dharma protects that person. So let's say, there are 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. For all this varnashram, there are dharma for each and every person. Now let us take an example of a brahmachari. A brahmachari ashram has certain dharma to be followed. If the brahmachari doesn't follow his own dharma, naturally what will happen? He will fall down from his position. But if a brahmachari follow the dharma of that ashrama, naturally, even if in future some inadvertent thing happened in his life, that dharma itself will protect him. That's why Krishna says, paradharma bhayavaha. To follow, even if somebody doesn't follow his dharma properly, but try to practice the dharma of other ashrama or other varna, that following another dharma is more dangerous than following one's own dharma imperfectly. The reason is his own dharma will protect him. So, if somebody doesn't follow his varnashram duties properly, he will lose the protection of varnashram dharma. Second, if somebody doesn't follow his dharma or varnashram rules and regulation, even if we perform many yajnas, it will not protect us. A classical example is given in Mahabharata when Pandavas were roaming in the forest after Varnavarta. You must have heard Varnavarta, the burning of Lakh House. So Pandavas were roaming in the forest, hiding from people. So at one point, after so many disturbances they are going through, Pandavas along with Kunti were taking rest near one pond. And in that pond, few Gandharvas came at that point. And the king of the Gandharva started to have a fight with Arjuna, of course, and Arjuna won that fight. But later, Gandharva was subdued and he took friendship of Arjuna, and there was a small discussion between Arjuna and that Gandharva king. Arjuna asked, my brother is dharma personified. We don't remember that we have performed any adharma. But why there are so many troubles that are coming in our life? What could be the issue? So the Gandharva said, yes, you have not done anything wrong, but you are not following your dharma properly. Your dharma is a Kshatriya dharma and you are roaming around in the forest as a renunciates. So how is it possible? So either you give up your Kshatriya dharma altogether and accept the vows of renounce order, or follow your Kshatriya dharma properly. And following Kshatriya dharma means going back to your kingdom and taking the position of a king. If you don't do that, that means you are between. You are neither a Kshatriya or not, you are neither a renunciate. So you are in between, and because of that, you are facing the difficulty. Many times in our ISKCON also we see some people doesn't want to become brahmachari, but at the same time they don't want to get married also. So neither brahmachari, neither grahastha become brahmastha. So because they are not following any dharma, their life becomes miserable. So one has to practice his own dharma properly. There is nothing called as in-between situation. I don't want to get married also, I don't want to enter brahmachari ashram also. This thing doesn't happen. One has to follow their ashram rules. Otherwise, whatever spiritual practices you do, here it is said, when a person loses his varnashram dharma, the protection that comes from that dharma no more protects that person. And no more accrued credit from yajna. Means whatever yajna that person perform, if he is not situated in his proper dharma, even the performance of yajna doesn't gets fruitful. It doesn't give you any fruits from the practice. So one has to be very careful about practicing varnashram system. Next, if somebody doesn't practice any of the varnashram system, just like a brahmastha example, as classic example which we are seeing, what will happen? He will be gradually exposed to the sinful life. It will happen. Gradually exposed to the sinful life. How? He is neither following brahmachari rules, he is neither have a responsibility of a grahastha, he is staying a bachelor. What will happen? His mind will start torturing him like anything. And because of that, he will eventually enter into sinful life. So, because of this, Chamasa Rishi is saying that such persons who may say that we are worshipper of God, but they don't accept God at all and not at all, and don't even follow Varnashram rules and regulation. So such people's situation is very precarious. It is said, now what happened is how the fall happened, that we have said, that is sthanat bhrashta, they fall down from their position. And patanti adaha, patanti adaha means there is a gradual degradation. Now what are the gradual degradation happens? First, he may devolve from human life to lower species of life. He will devolve, not evolve, he will devolve. Even though he may be born in the Brahmana family, but he is not worshipper, if he doesn't worship Krishna, and if he doesn't practice the discipline of the Varnashram Dharma, he will naturally glide down from the human form of life to the lower species of life. Second, his life will be dominated by instincts. Instinct means, oh, I feel to do today something like this. Oh, I feel to do certain activities which pleases me most. So, if he is not within the Varnashram boundaries, his life will be full of instincts. He will be driven away, he will be driven by instinct mode. Sometimes we see in devotee circles also that sometimes devotees feel happy to come to temple. They say, Prabhu, today's kirtan was wonderful. And sometimes they say, today's kirtan was not good. Or today this devotee, this Prabhuji or this Mataji is singing wonderful bhajan and kirtan. They sing very nicely, so I will attend. And somebody, if some other devotee is singing who is not very good in singing and doing bhajan, they will say, oh, better we can skip today going to temple. So, bhakti also becomes instinct. It is driven by the pleasure-driven potency. If I get pleasure from bhakti, then I will follow. If I don't get pleasure from bhakti, I will skip it. This is called instinct. So, bhakti is not an instinct-driven process. Bhakti is a regulation-based process. One has to follow rules and regulation of the bhakti. Whether you like it or don't like it, you must practice. Sometimes people say, Prabhu, I don't like chanting because while chanting I go to sleep. Prabhu, I don't like chanting because it appears to be so burdensome. My head becomes so heavy. I don't like chanting. Chanting is not a question of likes and dislikes. It is a regulation. One has to follow. Attending kirtan, hearing Bhagavatam class is not a matter of likes and dislikes. It is a part of sadhana process. One has to follow. So whether you like it or don't like it, one has to follow. If one doesn't follow those instructions of bhakti process, again, he will fall down from his position. Patanti adaha. So, here we have seen so many things. Now Srila Vishwachakriya Thakur in this purport gives a wonderful example of the root cause of falling down. Here, purports for causes of falling down has been mentioned in a small understanding. But the root cause which Vishwachakriya Thakur says is failure to worship the spiritual master. When one stops worshipping spiritual master, it is quite inevitable that we will fall down from the position. So what does it mean? If one doesn't attain Guru Puja, here in the purport it is said, attending Guru Puja. One who doesn't learn proper Guru Puja soon will develop disrespect towards God, towards spiritual master, and his life becomes spiritually dry and he falls into mental speculation. So that are the things. Slowly, when one start disrespecting Guru, again, a small thing, a small observation we can say. Sometimes a devotee tend to skip the morning programs and tend to skip the spiritual practices, early morning program especially. This kind of, it is not that they cannot attain the morning program. Some people stay very close to the temple, but still they don't come. They may have certain reasons of not coming and can be a valid reason, but let's say there are no such reason, but they just skip it because they're feeling, oh, let it be. They take it very casually. Anyway, I am now a senior devotee. Anyway, I am practicing bhakti for such a long time. What is the need for me to go to temple? Now I am a senior devotee. If that kind of casual attitude is there, then certainly there is a chances that there is a 100% chance that it is coming out of the disrespect towards practicing spiritual life. Not giving proper attention and respect to the sadhana process is a sign of disrespect towards the Supreme Lord and towards spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada has given us this morning program for the benefit and the advancement of the sadhakas. It is not that one day Prabhupada decided, or something devotee need to be engaged, so let me create this sadhana process, morning program. No. Prabhupada didn't create it because it was, he wanted to engage people. He created it because it has a potency to advance in spiritual life. And he has laid down these rules and regulations, like worshipping deities, attending Srimad Bhagavatam classes, performing aratis, doing Guru Puja. All these things are spiritually potent practices, and it is expected that every practicing devotee must follow this. Because it is given by Prabhupada and our previous acharyas also recommended it, so one has to practice it. If somebody shows neglect, shows disrespect, it directly indicates that we are disrespecting the orders of a spiritual master, directly disrespecting the orders of a founder acharya. And if somebody disrespects it in this way, naturally, such a person will patanti adaha, he will fall down to the hellish part of the life. What happens? Because of this, slowly he will start disrespecting God. First, he start disrespecting the Guru's order, and after Guru, slowly the situation goes towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then his life becomes spiritually dry. He doesn't find happiness. Sometimes people say, Prabhu, in the initial days I used to feel so much happy, so much enthusiasm. Initially I was chanting like anything, but now this life becomes so dry. There is no spiritual rasa in their life. It may be because of that. We are showing disrespect towards instruction of the spiritual master. That's why. And thirdly, when somebody stops giving respect to spiritual master, he enters into mental speculations. Now, what is the meaning of mental speculation? He's starting, oh, my Guru Maharaj means that. I know my Guru Maharaj heart nicely. So there is a tendency, it is seen, that people say that Guru Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj said such and such thing, and I know my Guru Maharaj better than what you know. So it is a mental speculation about the instruction of the spiritual master again. So we have to be very careful to what to follow and how to avoid fall downs. So why one should be respectful towards Guru? Because by worshipping spiritual master, humility, reverence, discipline, spiritual understanding, all these things will automatically come. One should be humble in front of the spiritual master. One should have a reverence towards spiritual master. One should be disciplined in front of spiritual master. And by doing that, all the scriptural understanding will automatically come to him. If he doesn't accept spiritual master, if one neglects his guru, his worship of God become mechanical. His worship of God become intellectual. And sometimes he will stop even worshipping God again. He will not worship God. So, Just a child learns to respect the father through the training of the mother, the soul learns to respect God through the training of the spiritual master. Just like a mother trains a child to respect the authority of father, similarly, Guru trains the disciple to worship God. If a child starts disrespecting mother, what will happen to that child? His protection will be taken away. Similarly, if a disciple start disrespecting spiritual master, he will be also fall down from a situation. So without Guru's mercy, it will naturally lead to the atheism. So slowly, such person becomes atheist. First, he rejects Guru, then rejects God, and then rejects any God at all. So that is the step-by-step fall down happens. So these are the thoughts which I was having on this statement. So there are few things which is given by that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Here Vishwachakra Thakur says that the Purusha that is been explained here is that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So it is just a part of the information, not as a Paramatma he is saying. Paramatma's feature of God is not saying that. He is saying about the Purusha feature, that is the Virat Purusha. He is saying that the Purusha is indicated here is Virat Purusha. So that is how this verse was described. So few minutes are remaining. Any questions, any comments if you have? Hare Krishna. Mataji is having there.
Hare Krishna.
It's giving an echo. Turn it on.
Thank you for the wonderful class. So my question was like the Varnashram which you explained, we have like different shades of grey there. Like first of all, in Kali Yuga everybody is a Shudra, and then second of all, like according to the understanding, it is said that a perfect Brahman or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra is who can serve other people sufficiently and best. So a perfect Brahman is one who can serve the society to his best capacity. So we all start from the foundation of a Shudra, because a best Kshatriya is the one who can serve the society again through his capabilities by being a best Kshatriya. And so it all starts from serving. If he is a best Kshatriya, it doesn't matter, because if it is not serving the society or anybody. And the best Vaishya is also who can serve through his capabilities the whole society through his best capabilities. So the ultimate thing is the serving capacity of the individual, whether it be a Brahman, Shudra, Vaishya or a Shudra. So it all starts from being a Shudra actually, who is in one place I had read that Shudra is considered Harijan because they are the uppermost, because they have known how to serve without any ego. They have learned how to serve, and the serving capacity is the supreme. So I would like to know your thoughts about that.
Yes, what you said about, see, our understanding of these four varnas is so much affected by present political scenarios that we consider Vedic understanding of varnashram and present situation of varnashram, we many times get confused. So what description you are giving is the political understanding of varnashram. In Vedic understanding, the varnashram is based on guna and karma. In the previous verse of this chapter, varnas are being distributed according to the gunas. A brahmana is a person who is in the mode of sattva guna. Kshatriya is a person who is in the mode of sattva guna plus raja guna, a mixture of both. Vaishya is a person who is in the mode of Rajaguna plus Tamoguna mixture. And Shudra is a person, or Shudra is identified with a guna called Tamoguna. So, when Vedas or when the Vedic scripture describes Shudra, it doesn't describe about a birth factor or the existence factor or the occupation factor of the person as such. Here it is described as his quality. He is affected by Tamoguna. So that's why in Vedic scriptures, a Shudra is considered to be in the lower category, not because of his skills or ability, but because of his consciousness. Consciousness is driven by tamasic mentality. What you said is a political understanding of a Shudra, which is true because serving is naturally a part of every Varna, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, they must serve. So if the service is the criteria, certainly Shudra becomes the topmost. But that is not the criteria of understanding what Veda says. Veda says it is a consciousness that shows who is greatest. If somebody, let's say, if we say, we must do hard work. Those who does hard work, only he will excel. If that is the criteria, then the person who are doing labor job, they must be the topmost in the society. If the hard work is only the criteria for the success, it is not like that. The success criteria of the success is different in different situation. Since you are defining Varnashram through the lens of service, of course, Shudra will become a topmost person. But the Vedas, they describe the topmost person based on the consciousness of the person. Who said that again, you are going through that same aspect of political understanding of Varnashram. The Varnashram is not based on birth. A person doesn't stay Shudra for a lifelong thing. It all depends on consciousness. If a Shudra, presently the Shudra because of consciousness, naturally by practice of Bhakti Yoga, he will naturally evolve to the Brahmana level also. So it's true that there is evolvement. So Shudra will never remain a Shudra. But the description here, when we describe a Shudra is not a person based on his body or his birth. It is based on the quality and the consciousness. That we have to understand. If he changes his consciousness, if he changes his quality, the guna, naturally he will evolve to a higher level also. It is quite possible. Okay? Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for a nice class. I will just have a comment on this, like patanti adaha. Even the person likes to come to temple or don't likes to come temple, do something which he should be doing unexpectedly, like anya vilashata sunyam gnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnanushilam. Yes, bhakti is like beyond gnana and karma. In the karma kanda, we expect a result. Just like if we perform some sacrifice, fire sacrifice, we expect a result. And that is karma kanda. And gnana, where we need some kind of a nourishment to our intellectual. So bhakti, which is we should be doing beyond those two things. Like if you are expecting a taste for the holy name, like today I have chanted 62 rounds or 64 rounds, I still didn't get taste. So immediately you fall in the category of karma kanda. And if you or like if somebody is reading like something like hours together books, if he's not getting, he fall into jnana karma. So sometimes as devotees we expect some kind of nourishment where to keep going. This is not a short-term project, it's a long-term project, right? So what you suggest that if a person wants to keep going even though he doesn't need any kind of taste or expectation, with that, like how we should keep going and what is the motivation basically? How do you suggest?
Hare Krishna. In Bhakti Rasamrita, there's a word called rasa. Rasa means something which drives us. So everybody is driven by rasa only, whether it's a material rasa or a spiritual rasa. We as a practicing devotee, we are in between. We want spiritual rasa, but we want material rasa also. So as I was saying that many times the devotees enter into situation, I like certain thing, I dislike certain things. But bhakti is beyond that. Of course, just like when we eat, tushti and pushti naturally happens. Similarly, when we practice bhakti, this rasa will naturally come. One need not hanker for rasa, because if I get that rasa, if I have that motivation, then I will practice bhakti. It is just like, if it gives me benefit, then I will eat. It is not like eating naturally will be benefited. But in beginning, it is quite natural thing, because just like a child, he doesn't understand the value of going to school or education. But he was driven by a motivation that if you go to the school, you will get so many toys to play. So because he is attracted to toys, naturally he will go to the school. But slowly, because of regularly going to the school, staying in the association with teachers, naturally he will slowly upgrade his consciousness. Similarly, this bhakti process, initially we may give them prasad, then wonderful harinam, wonderful different tunes of harinam. That is a kind of a motivation factor. It will bring a person, attract a person, but slowly staying in the association of devotees, he will naturally develop a desire in future. But again, this motivation should not be the driving factor for bhakti. Because once the motivation is lost, we will leave bhakti also. So what should be the factor? There are 4 factors which drives us: fear, benefit, duty, and love. At least we should not, as practicing sadhaka, we should not be in the state of fear and benefits. We should at least come to the level of duty. We have to understand that our Guru have done so much effort to give this bhakti to us. Otherwise, where would we have been? If we are not in bhakti process, it is because of our spiritual master we are here in practicing bhakti. Now, at least we should show gratitude by doing some service for his pleasure. So that sense of duty should be the driving force, especially to the practicing sadhakas. If not, then slowly he will fall, gradually he will go down again. But if it is a duty process is there, because of this duty understanding for Guru will naturally purify. It will naturally purify, and certainly he will advance to the level of prema. I hope this helps you.
100%. Thank you.
Subal Prabhu has some comments. He will give much better reply to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, SriVallabha Prabhu. Always nice class and very refreshing too. You mentioned, and also answering the question of Navina Krishna Prabhu, and you mentioned in the class the importance of duty. especially for the sadhakas you highlighted right now. And one thing that becomes very apparent and very important is that the temple have to create an atmosphere that induces and supports and nourish this duty and love, these two things, these two aspects. So duty and love is almost like the key aspects that even bring up a family too. When you bring up children, education have to be based on those two things, duty and care, duty and love. So how important for the temple is to create that atmosphere in which duty and love is supporting, because the expectation as the majority of people, of us, that comes into Krishna consciousness, we're still afflicted, many of us, by the false ego. When you're able to overcome false ego, you are, Brahmabhuta. So while in the process of liberating yourself from false ego, and when that is acting, especially in the Kanishta state, you may follow rules and regulation, but just for the sake of following, without understanding a culture of respect. So you don't respect the devotees. You only see Krishna. You don't necessarily respect devotees. So it's natural, it's expected that most of the devotees have to deal with that, have to deal with their false ego. So if the temple doesn't create an atmosphere of a culture of respect and an atmosphere of duty and love, then it will be very difficult to expect devotees to feel inspired to come. So it's a two-way thing. For example, if there is no respect, proper respect in honoring the Vyasa-san while giving Srimad Bhagavatam, and you just come and do it without proper preparation, without respect to your audience, it doesn't, you can feel, as an audience, you can feel that. You can feel that it's almost like you've been disrespected. So if the culture of respect is not there, so it won't create that type of, atmosphere of proper, hearing and chanting and glory. Sankirtan. Sankirtan will be very difficult to manifest. Same thing, you mentioned, sometimes you probably have seen it, I've seen it many times in my years, someone who jumps to do a kirtan and doesn't even know the words of the kirtan, mess it up like that. So, and even when there is so many capable devotees or senior devotees that are present, so the culture of respect is so important and is so necessary to establish in the temples, and that falls in leadership. The leadership of a temple is obliged to create the atmosphere that foster respect, that foster duty, that foster love. So I just wanted to add that to your very nice class.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. जय श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।